What is the strangest thing that happened to you that you can't logically explain? When I was in college, a drunk dude fell from a third floor balcony and got up and walked away like it was nothing. Seriously, one of the weirdest / freakish things I've ever seen in my life. Edit. For those asking, University of Southern California circa 2009. It's getting late guys. Oh, this is my floor. Jumps. I'll see you tomorrow. I had recently watched an early episode of Criminal Minds where a arsonist would lock people in their homes before lighting the house on fire. For whatever reason it kinda got to me. A night or two later I woke up out of a dead sleep and couldn't get that episode out of my mind, so I finally decided to just get up and check the front door. I swear I could not open the door. Unlocked it, but it was totally stuck. I woke up my husband because I was so freaked out. He also tried and couldn't get the door open, and he's a big guy. I ended up climbing out a window so I could push the door from the outside while he pulled from the inside. We finally got it open. I didn't watch Criminal Minds for a long time after that. Edit. Thank you all for the awards and upvotes. To answer some questions, I don't remember for sure, but I assume the door was wood, although not great quality since it was a rental. It's totally possible that the door or door jamb had swelled. That was my husband's theory too. However, we didn't have problems with it before or after that, and we lived there 2 years. The thing that freaked me out most though was that I woke up for no apparent reason with that episode on my mind, and that just happens to be the night my door is stuck. Also yes, I accidentally typed lightning. That's what I get for posting from my phone. I hit a patch of black ice in the dark going 60 miles per hour down the highway. At the time, I drove a 1-ton cargo van. It hit the guardrail and flipped. Not only did I walk away without a scratch, the car was drivable, and I was only 30 minutes late to work. Edit. A word. Had a dream that I got a phone call saying my brother, that I haven't seen in 10 years, had died. 2 days later I got a call that he actually had died. My dad claims to have had this twice. Not a call, but he was actually visited by the deceased in a dream. They were always happy in the dream. Then he would learn of their non-illness related sudden death after waking up. I'm sorry for your loss. 3I too had a similar dream. In the dream, my mom called me to tell me that grandpa was dying. When I woke up, I called her and asked her how grandpa was doing. She said he was doing just fine. Well, as it turned out, my stepdad's father was not doing well and was put on hospice shortly not long after that dream. So, while I had never referred to him as my grandpa, he was a grandfatherly figure, and he passed away within a few months of that dream. I'm a firefighter, and we got a call for an overdose around 3 AM to a rough part of our district in the middle of winter. Unfortunately, the patient was long gone, and her dealer, or whatever, found her like that when he dropped some stuff. As we were packing up our stuff, mind you this is a absolutely trashed mobile home, I hear something down the hall that said lights. I ask my partner if he said anything as it was just him, and I cleaning up, he said no. I walk to the far end of the trailer where I heard it and shine my flashlight. I get a reflection out of the window. They have a small tool shed and it had a flickering light. It piqued my interest, so my partner and I go out there. We hear crying and notice the door is padlocked. We cut it and this little 6-year-old girl was in there. She said her mom puts her in there when she gets mad at her. She said she got scared when she heard the sirens and didn't know what to do. To this day I have no idea what happened or where the voice came from, but I'll take the win on it. Edit. A couple people wondering about what happened after, my partner and I took her to the children's hospital closest to us, and we wrote our report and ate chips and a sandwich we took from the lounge while they called a social worker. She was a really sweet girl. The voice was not a little girl voice. I 100% thought it was my partner, since it sounded like a guy. Edit 2. Sorry for using peaked. I was between calls at work pretty early in the morning and grandma is not my defining character of mine. Thanks for reading. Hug your kid is a little tighter tonight. I used to fence, the sport, not stolen goods. I was at a tournament and had just started a bout against a competitor. You win the bout by being the first to 5 points. I score what I believe to be first point, but the official indicates the match is over and I've won. I stood there confused for a second, but my opponent seems to agree and salutes and approaches for a handshake, so I go along with it. I check the score record and it says I've won 5-2. Totally lost probably 4 or 5 minutes of time. Hasn't happened since to the best of my knowledge, but it's been 20 years and I still wonder what happened. I had something similar happen to me. I was cleaning my mum's shop, like I had done hundreds of times, and just as I started to sweep, I looked down to the floor already been swept and everything cleaned. Lost like 15 to 20 minutes, still don't know what happened. Both of my lungs collapsed at the same time, almost over 50% collapsed, and I was walking around like I was perfectly normal. Until I decided to go to the ear for bubble sounds in my chest. None of the doctors could figure out why this had happened to me. They didn't know how I was just up and walking around and laughing. Edit, word. Edit #2 to answer questions. 1. I'm a 5 feet 7 inches thin woman. I have heard it is very common in tall and thin men too. Yes, it was my lateral pneumothorax. Drive just couldn't figure why it happened. 3. I ended up having 4 more spontaneous pneumothorax within the span of 2 years. I'm still a mystery in that hospital. 4. I was aged 19 to 21 when this was happening, 26 years old now. 5. They did pleurodesis procedure to get it to stop happening, hasn't happened since. This happened to my brother. He said he was getting a cold, but felt fine. His voice sounded really weird though, and it felt like he had like plastic under his skin in his chest, crepitus I guess it's called. Ended up in the hospital for a few days, but felt fine the whole time. Doctors have no idea what caused it. Time slipped by my friend and I one day. We got a contract in another town and drove out daily for 2 weeks. It was 1 hour to get there and 1 hour back, but one day it took us 3 hours to get back to town. My friend realized something was wrong when his wife called him up asking why he turned his phone off and why he was so late. We left a little before 2 p.m. and the call came almost at 5 p.m. To this day we can't explain it, and to further complicate matters we both have receipts from a gas station we stopped at just before we got on the highway that are time stamped a bit after 2 p.m. My theory is that the aliens took us for 2 hours, but who the hell knows. I had that happen once. I worked at a coffee shop and lived a few blocks away, so I normally just walk to work. Takes no more than 10 to 15 minutes tops and I like to get there early so I can chill and have a coffee before my shift starts, so I left home 45 minutes early, looked at the clock before heading out and it was 2 o'clock. Walked in the door to my manager asking me why the hell I was late. Looked at the clock and it was 3 o'clock. There's no way it's even humanly possible to turn a 10 minutes, 5 block walk into an hour. Like I have no idea. I even checked my clocks at home after work, none were off or broken, and it never happened again. I was driving across the US and drove into Salt Lake City. For whatever reason, I got a craving for IHOP, so I punched it into Google Maps and followed the directions to a spot in the middle of town. I walk in, and the place is empty. I don't mean like there were no customers. I mean there is literally not a person in the place. No wait staff, no customers, no cooks. Nobody. There was partially eaten food on all the tables. Bags and purses in the booths. TVs on everywhere. Burgers on the grill slowly burning. And there wasn't a soul in the place, like they all just vanished at once. I was so freaked out I hopped in my car and drove until I hit the Nevada border before stopping to eat. Still have no idea what the duck happened. Edit, my god, I went to sleep and woke up with my first blow up post. Thanks for the awards, kind strangers, who TF gave this wholesome? To those asking, this happened on June 3rd, 2017 at approximate 4 PM. Stayed around 5 to 10 minutes before booking it. I thought it might have been a robbery too, but figured what robber holds up an IHOP and leaves the purses unto shade? Like I said, can't explain it. Calling the cops might have been a good idea. But, on top of the fact I've never trusted cops, a few days before I was pulled over by a Nebraska state trooper for a busted taillight, who used it as pretense to throw me in the back of his cruiser while he searched my entire car for a reason to arrest me. Was feeling wary of the blow after that. Besides, what was I gonna say? Some Lovecraftian shit's going down at the IHOP. Send backup. I was just a 6-year-old kid deciding what to do after school while I was in my grandparents' living room. I saw a red flash shoot out of the wall and go from that side to the other wall and into it. A second later a big earthquake hit. I saw some sort of visual shockwave from the earthquake. And no, it wasn't those weird lightning bolt things. In my childish mind I thought that I just saw the Flash, the comic book character, run through the room. Another cool one that is explained by sheer unbelievable coincidences that I phoned a friend so I hadn't spoken to in at least 3 years and it went to voicemail. After I left a voicemail I saw I had a voicemail notification. It was a voicemail from the person who I just called. The weirdest part is that we must have called each other at exactly the same moment, otherwise it would have done the call waiting thing instead of sending to voicemail. We immediately called each other back and tripped out about how weird that was. Several times when I had a landline, I picked up the phone to call my friend, only to hear her voice already on the phone. Literally picked it up to call her as she called me, so it never even rang on my end. I once shut my ear in a car door. No idea how, have tried to recreate it and can't, but my god that hurt. You deserve something for this. A football helmet to prevent it from happening again. Edit, wow, this exploded. Thank you everyone. So this still baffles me, but when I was a kid we had moved into a new house, and while the realtor was showing us around the house I saw a lady sitting at a white dresser in a pink room and she even waved at me, but when I asked my mom who that was she just brushed me off, because she was trying to listen to the realtor. The weird thing is that there were no rooms painted pink in the house and my family just played it off despite me being adamant of what I saw. Anyway, fast forward a few years, and I'm in high school at this point and we start renovating the house, and while stripping the wallpaper in the master bedroom we found out it was painted pink at some point. Still low-key freaks me out. Edit, just to clarify and provide more info. This happened on the day we moved in. I was not looking through a door, I was actually looking at a wall when I saw this. On the other side of the wall I was looking at was a master bedroom, but we had passed the door to that room. When we discovered the paint it was actually a few coats back, so there was wallpaper, white paint, a minty green color paint, and then the coat of pink paint. Lastly, the lady was pretty young, I would guess in her 30s, and as far as I know died at that property. So, one night I had a dream that I was working out in the gym that I regularly go to. In the dream, I was in the normal spot where I work out, exercising, when all of a sudden, the lights in the gym go out. All the TV screens go off. Can't see anything, but, in the dream, it feels like some sort of smoke is filling up the gym, and I can hear, and barely see people panicking, running to the exit. Feels like maybe it's a terrorist attack. I start running, trying to get to the exit, and it's getting harder and harder to breathe. Just as I'm kind of hyperventilating and succumbing to the toxic smoke, I jolt awake. Very intense dream that stuck with me. A week later, in real actual life, I'm working out in my gym, and boom, the lights and TV screens go out. It was this incredibly surreal moment where I actually thought I was dreaming again. I stood there stunned for a moment before realizing that the power just went out due to a thunderstorm. It came back on about 5 minutes later. I told a gym employee nearby that I dreamt about this. She laughed politely and probably thought I was insane. Really strange. This happens to me all the time. I have really vivid dreams of real life scenarios I'm often in. I've been wanting to apply to grad school in Europe, and I had a vivid dream moving into my flat, then realizing I was so focused on the move I forgot to actually apply to the school. Lol. When I was younger, in elementary school, I used to have the same dream every weekend starting on Saturday, when I would go to sleep, and then waking up in the middle of the night, on Sunday, and throwing up. The dream was always a bunch of numbers. Not even anything happening, just a bunch of random jumbled up numbers all over the place. I never understood why that happened, where the same dream would happen on the same night every week and I would throw up every single time. I always think about it and wonder what it was, or if it was just some weird coincidence. Also, I would not have any signs of being sick before or after. Maybe someone else has experienced this. When I was like 8, I had a battery operated lamp that worked for like a week with no batteries in it. These are the stories I love in these threads. Something totally mundane and non-spooky but inexplicable. My Furby worked for 3 years without batteries. Little Ducker was haunted AF, talked at night, would say ducked up shit, and would randomly turn on by itself. No batteries. I happily sold that Ducker with full warning it was possessed. My dad owned a small garden shop, so I'd stay behind the checkout after school till the shop closed. This was until I see a tall man wearing all black, like a trench coat, walking past my dad and smiling at me before going into a staff-only area. I jump up to stop him, even though I was 7. This back area filled with new shipments. I turn the corner but nobody is there. There was no way he could have gone. I ask my dad to check the CCTV after closing, but it's only shown me jumping up and running out of frame. Weird stuff, never felt comfortable there again. One time when I was little I had a similar experience. I had fallen asleep on the couch and woke up in the middle of the night. When I got up to go to the kitchen, I saw a black silhouette of a woman with a bun and glasses, and she went into the kitchen and I heard all of pans fall. I rush into the kitchen, no one is there and everything is in its place. I know I could have imagined the figure, but I cannot explain the sound of the crashing pans and no one else heard it. They were all asleep. Best I got is having some obscure song in my head and turning on the radio and that song is playing. Or discussing an old movie with a friend and coming home scrolling through the TV at 3 AM and you see that very same movie is playing. Just shit like that, really. In the book American Gods there is a part where they talk about how there's a TV show you might want to try to start watching, but every time you catch it on TV you see the same episode every time. I know it's happened to me several times. Similar pattern to what you're talking about. I have a vivid memory of being at the Statue of Liberty as a child, on my dad's shoulders, seeing the skyline of New York City. I remember what we ate for lunch that day, etc. I remember the ferry we took. I've always thought about this memory and talked about it, but my family denies I ever went to New York City. I didn't go for the first time until I was 23, but strangely enough, when I went, I remembered everything just how it had been when I was there with my dad. Same, had a Thanksgiving where my whole extended family came to visit from Minnesota and Wisconsin, live in Michigan, but my whole family denies it ever happening. My uncle even taught me how to throw a punch with my thumb on the outside of my fingers, so I don't break them. Okay, so it's not that I can't explain it, or if it even needs explaining really, but was just so bizarre I still recall it at least a few times a year. When I was about 18 I worked at a grocery store, and one day this young man entered that, I shit you not, looked exactly like me. Like, weirdly too much alike. This young man was wearing the same damn outfit as me, khakis, a blue polo, and a brown coat, though his coat was a little darker. When this gentleman met my gaze we were just eye-locked at every point we could see one another throughout the store, both with the stupidest perplexed looks on our faces. The only difference I could tell was this person was a little older than I and had a goatee. I assumed this was my evil twin. He left the store after buying his stuff and life went on. But it doesn't end there. The next day a strange woman approached me asking stupid aunt face, "Why are you here?" I turn around to see someone I do not know. "How do you know my name?" I ask. "Do you know me?" She says, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were my son, stupid aunt face. You look exactly like him." The dude even shares my ducking name. This shit is weird. I confirmed with the lady that her son stupid aunt face did come in the day before and was home temporarily from college. Another very perplexed person from this oddity. So I continue to ask her about her son, since we look identical, and she told me about his age, 2 years older, and where he grew up, the town over, and he has 2 older brothers and a younger sister. I have 2 older brothers and a younger sister. I asked this woman's name and of course, "Oh, my name is Karen. Nice to meet you." My mother's name is Karen. I didn't probe on any further, but I'm not even sure I want to know how far down that alternate universe me went. It was just so unbelievably strange, the circumstance overall. But the weirdest thing by far, that is what sticks with me most, is this weird ass feeling I had when stupidic face and I were staring at each other. I assume he felt this too by the look on his face. A feeling I've never felt and still have since felt. A feeling that I can really only describe as knowing that the other person I'm looking at is me somehow. I don't now, can't explain it fully. I wonder if identical twins feel that same stuff. This happened a couple days ago, and I'm really hoping someone can tell me there is a perfectly logical reason for it to have happened. I got a second monitor, since class is all online now. I was moving my floor lamp when the cement fell out of the bottom. Weird, but okay. I got that lamp from my aunt. I then grab another floor lamp from my guest room that I've had since like 2007, and as soon as I stepped through the threshold to my room, that floor lamp's bottom dropped out. Crazy. I ask my so to borrow one of his he isn't using. Guess what happened when we got to my place with it? Yup. That's right. Bottom fell out. This is gonna be the most boring story on this thread. I can feel it. 3 lamps and it happens to all of them? I have absolutely no idea, unless someone's trying to prank you. Let us know if you get to the bottom of it. When I was in primary school, like year 1 to 2, in the cafeteria there was all these cups filled with milk every lunch. Red, green, blue, but only one yellow cup. Everyone would fight to get the yellow cup like it was the holy grail, and it had been this way for years. One night I had a dream that the cafeteria had gotten more yellow cups in, and lo and behold the next day, hundreds of yellow cups. So when I was a kid, I slept with my bedroom door open because my cat liked to cuddle me. Our hallway was just a round hallway, and I could see the bathroom door and my parents' bedroom door. Though it was dark, it was in view. I also slept with my lights only dimmed. One night, I can't sleep for some reason. I for some reason call out for my mom, and I see her standing near my doorway, kind of turned away from me with her hand on her face and her hair draping. I know it's her, because she slept in a big purple t-shirt that night, but she's completely still. Static. Mind you, I'm wide freaking awake. I might have been watching TV before this, 3 AM Disney Channel, probably. When I call out to her, she doesn't move at all. Blink. She's gone. I start freaking out and calling out to her for real, and that's when I hear their door open and close and my mom rushes to my aid. I think she either slept with me all night or I stayed up all night watching TV to pacify myself. I started sleeping with my door closed out of that, and I don't look too carefully in darkness. Edit, Reddit finally decided to let me post this, the fated round hallway. When I was a kid, my mom and I were sitting at a red light. The car in front of us went on red, while the other side was turning. The car T-boned a vehicle that had a boat on their trailer. The boat flew off the trailer and was heading straight towards our car. It was going to crash straight through our windshield. My mom screamed at me to bend forward as far as I could so it wouldn't decapitate me. At the very last second, the boat turned left and scrapped the side of our car. It turned so abruptly, like a big invisible hand just turned it for us. Wind, could be said, but there was no wind. Just a gorgeous day where a boat should have killed or very seriously maimed us and turned at the last second out of nowhere. Edit, wasn't expecting so many replies, noob. I also wasn't looking for someone to solve this, just sharing what happened. To reply to some of the comments at once, I'm not religious, never said God saved me. We were in a car without airbags. I didn't end up bending forward, I was frozen in shock. The boat wasn't skidding on the ground toward us, it was in the air. Yes, I know memories can change, nevertheless, this is how I remember it happening. When my daughter was little and she would get upset, something in the kitchen would randomly break. Happened way too many times to be coincidental, and the things that broke did so in inexplicable ways. I clearly remember one instance very early in the morning standing in the kitchen, telling her she couldn't have cake from the night before. She immediately looked angry and I heard a weird plink sound in the cupboard. Opened it to find the plate on the top of the stack was cracked in several places. No signs of this in later years. She's 24 now, and I often allude to this and remind her boyfriend not to piss her off.